Alright, let's look at the problems Britain is facing and try to do this in real time. I was already thinking about Britain's water. I wrote about it on my old laptop, but it's kind of. This laptop's old. My other one has got issues. I don't think someone can fix it. I think I have to pull the information off it and somehow save it. But I've been writing about Britain's water issue for a while. Most of it's buried on that laptop. But recently I had a daydream about a mathematician who's really humble over there understanding an equation with something they can add to the water. So, like, so many parts of vinegar will then dilute so many parts over so much time of this other thing. And he does a mathematical equation that lets them understand just how much of this basically eating chemical they have to put in to eat their sewage and to eat the bacteria in the water, and the product is a little tangy afterwards, but they manage it. I had years ago thought about them making an underground system that was like Roman but had tilapia eating the waste, like a sustainable biodome system in certain parts of the city, separate sewage systems, and them being organic, flowing out into the ocean, flowing back up into the water when it's good water, uh, and using fish. And then you're putting those fish in a cycle and basically just flooding all around their city, wherever they have standing water, with tilapia. Like, they're just being fishing everywhere. They're a poop eating fish, that's why I was thinking of tilapia, but the recent one is a daydream about a mathematician that will know a way to clean out the water. So let's see about the other problems in Britain. Severe cost of living crisis. So, cost of living, you guys are. Oops, just one second, I dropped something. So, your cost of living is because your population is sitting on a rock. You have the population of the United States sitting on something the size of Texas, almost. I'm using rough estimates. So, again, a mathematician is going to come in handy for knowing exactly how much square space you need to live and how many of them per area is able to fit. After that, we're looking at prices going up. But before that, these people kind of live pretty cheaply. Well, how do we take that price down? I know it sounds weird, but you start building like bugs. You take an idea and reflect it that it comes from Japan and China and the Orient on building up when you can't build around. So you're going back to having little castles. That worked for you guys. Little castles to house multiple families. So the crown needs to invest in property again, which will make them money in the long run, so that's fine. And every time the population, the mathematician says is too much, build a castle like a hotel. Start to alleviate that. Ow. You're going to have a worry about these people trying to be sovereign a little with how well it works. Well, you went through that before. You just have them come and talk. When you have parliament, you make something like a senate. And the commoner gets an extra vote. You've done this before. You've handled this before with less in history. So it's not as much. I don't know what the NHS is. Pressure on the NHS. The struggling economy. Welcome to understanding the Osage and the butternut tree. These are butternuts almost endangered. So you'll be saving this tree, planting it around different parts of Britain and Europe. Look at the endangered trees in different parts of continents that yield food. You guys know how to greenhouse in cold weather. You can get these puppies started and massively get them around the world. That's good money. For the rich people who have gardens but really don't like having to endure people, you want a garden, but you want privacy. You also don't want a struggling economy next door, because this is crime. So you investing in these castles also benefits you. So once you invest in that, you're investing in the mining in Scotland. The mining industry in Scotland, I don't know about the one in Ireland, but you're investing back into Britain. So and the more you pull stone out of there to build these, the more you're just circling your money. You're also, for your struggling economy, you're going to take an idea that the U.S. did, and you're going to make a wooden nickel. This is worth 5 cents of your money. People, I understand people can make them and brand them. They just made a nickel. If you're willing to do it, and you have those, those crappy trees that grow around Britain that are barely firewood, but they're pretty. But they create so much havoc when you're walking through them, and it's basically only the deer navigate them well. They cut into wooden nickels that look almost golden and are beautiful. And at the end of your struggle, you all have something to burn to keep warm. We did this. You can do this and make this work. Concerns rising over immigration. Well, some people would just say quit it. Well, that doesn't work. You've already got so many immigrants that they want their families around. You need to strengthen where they're coming from. So when you ask the immigrant, what country do you come from? Say, how do I help you support that country? Once that country is back up, they won't want to be there. And it's not fighting with guns and taking over or building railroads. It's actually looking at their values beyond food and food production and their country's reason to exist. India is a big one. That has ancient history below its sand. We don't want a railroad trampling over that and those people. I know it sounds bad because it might set them back a bit, but these people have lived with very little. They're not... With how much garbage is there, all it would take is probably a year or two, and they would figure out a way to build a city out of plastic. They don't stop. So that value in that country, when you say, how do I support your country in that way? Say, how do I raise awareness for the crime that's going on there? Talk about that instead of immigration. You will find those immigrants are nicer. You will find that they want to go home. They miss their land. When you talk about the difference in values, say that's why I want to keep mine here. But I also want you to have yours that came from there. And they'll realize it's easier to have those values there. And immigration will start to slowly dissipate. Next issue. We did housing. Crime. It is almost bizarre when an American hears an English accent as a criminal. That is because you have programmed so much of your manners. Your manners are a program that you do instead of like following protocol instead of feeling it. You need to feel why you had those manners again, why you wanted to be that prestigious of a country and of a people. It was etiquette. It was gentlemen and ladies. So far, the South is whipping your butt with that. With Southern hospitality, which didn't used to be the case. Used to be the other way around. That if somebody was a tourist in that country, you were so loving and so hospitable that it reflected when they went home to almost being like a fairyland. Your old people know the key to bringing that back. Somehow, probably with these greenhouses and these gardens, like the Zen gardens I have the idea of for China, you want to get that tutelage from them, that mentoring from the old people. They know how to do that. You got to stop throwing them in old folks' homes and start listening to them. They're the biggest problem besides the disabled when it comes to social care, and you're having more of both because you're just filtering them into a building and then forgetting about them. Well, you're also forgetting how you did all these amazing things in the past and how amazing of people you were. Wages. Think about everybody growing a butternut tree and within 10 years it yielding something. And I mean, we're talking $50 a pound, even if you're trading it over in Europe. This is a good nut. People aren't going to get tired of eating it. It's going to be better than the walnut. It doesn't have the bitterness, and it can replace butter in a recipe. So now you're looking at your healthcare, your social problems, all changing because of one tree. There are lots of trees to look at. Public faith in politicians is low because you're not being honest with the people. Have more of these rich people and these hardworking civilians that, and I'm talking about inherited rich and hardworking civilians, meet together and make these castle-like votes. You will increase faith in politicians because they'll be the politicians again. And they'll have faith in themselves regardless. Public services, you're too overworked. You're doing too much for everybody. We got to have basics covered. You're looking at military basics and reflecting that. Talk to the military about how you do basics with them. Tell the people you're going to be similar in some way with how much you get from the basic commodity. Because if we can't cover dental for military, we can't cover free dental for the civilian. They'll wonder why you can't cover it for the military. And if you're doing more for the military than you're doing for your public, realize you're going to make the public militant. You don't want to do that. That's about it for the list of problems with Britain right now. It's the National Healthcare Service. You need to take a lesson from Eastern medicine. Grow your cure. Get in the habit of growing your cures and making your own medicine in-house there. Even if it's a little lower grade at first, start with fish meds and studying how to make that. It will save, I know it sounds bad, but the people who go around the system and help themselves do alleviate the pressure on the system for how much they have to take care of when it comes to civilians. The independent American has saved the United States time and time again by trying to feed, clothe, and heal themselves, I should say. They are the backbone. They can go out in the middle of a ranch. We won't see them for 8 months, and we'll say, "What happened to your tooth?" And they'll say they pulled it out. These are different types of people. They're like the stones among you. Don't treat them like riffraff. Learn from them as doctors. Learn why they're so resilient and why they're able to get around these things. Some of these people will combat cancer into their 90s living alone. Excuse me. So, keep track. Give respect where it's due, credit where it's due. These people, whether they look great, sound great, they're living. And they're not, those, some of them aren't costing you anything, and they're struggling to try to just be independent. They're not the Waystones. So, and I see you're starting to have a little bit of an RV population. Well, recreation, now you want recreation spots. So for those people who have those gardens and all that land, offer some type of benefit from the government, especially when it comes to taxes and forgiveness. If they have an RV park on their property, suddenly they're paying half taxes. And the RVs have a place to go. They're not sitting in the streets. They're not trying to be like apartments.